Back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. If you need a roof, make sure you call Ireland Contracting. They're the best in the business. That's why they are #1 in Pittsburgh. That would be the place that I would call if I need anything. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. It's easy to remember. They do roofing, they do gutters, they do siding, they do anything you need. Windows, you name it, they do it. Give us a call right now on the Borders & Borders hotline. 412-575-2600 is the number. We're going to be talking about Mr. Big Chest. I need a nickname like Mr. Big Chest. We're going to be talking about Mr. Big Chest. We're going to be talking about the Pens' big win tonight. All right, we got some tweets here. I'll read before I get to the phone lines. Kevin Hammer just tweeted me. He said, Richie, that's what happens when the whole team back checks. Keep it simple. Don't pitch. Defense was solid. Murray equals stellar. Yeah, it was a good all. If they play like this, they're going to be tough to beat. But also Murray played really well tonight. You can't discount that. He made some huge saves when they needed it early in the game and start. Mike just tweeted me, hey, what's your thought on Lonnie Chisenhall? Where do the Buccos go from here? Chisenhall, minor injury. The Pirates are calling it a lower body injury. You know, he only played in 29 games last year. So I think I actually like Lonnie Chisenhall. I think he's a good fit for the first month to replace Gregory Polanco. I think you do fine with it. If this guy stays healthy, you have him out there 80-90% of the time, and then maybe sub him out with or platoon him out with Melky Cabrera. And that guy still has a bat. Lonnie Chisenhall, I think, can get you through to May. That's when Gregory Polanco told me he was coming back. That was a scoop that I got down in Bradenton with him. You know, they were projecting June and July, but it looks like Gregory Polanco potentially would be back. He looked good in May. So, Bucco Fever. All right, let's off to the phone lines. We got Pete out in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete?
Rich, how are you tonight?
Good, thanks for calling.
I got 2 points. The first one's a quick one, Rich, about the 4-point game tonight. Nikita Kucherov has 6 of those this year. One of the reasons he has 105 points. But what I'm calling about, Rich, is
another reason is, you know, I mean, he gets a ton of points in the power play. Sidney Crosby does not. But go ahead.
The reason I'm really calling, Rich, is last night you made a statement when you're talking about the Penguins about Crosby, voted by his peers as the best player in the game. That's not the truth. It is known as the Ted Lindsay Award. Every year in the offseason, the players vote on the best player in the game. McDavid has won it overwhelmingly.
Well, Pete, this was just, I think it was a story that The Athletic did that interviewed 200 players. So that I was just going by that story. I think I made reference to that 200 players were interviewed, and they said who was the best player, who was the guy that you'd want on your team, who do you think was the best player?
Best player, Rich.
Well, I'm just saying, look, hey, Pete, I'm not trying to argue with you. I get what you're saying, Pete. I love you. Yeah. Thanks for calling. I get it. But I was making a point. There was an article that was in on athletic.com, and I was reading it. It was a big story that 200 players were interviewed, and they said Sidney Crosby was the best player in the league.
About who they want on a team. I'm talking about the best player vote.
Okay, Pete, I know you like to call in and argue, and I love arguing with you, but I'm going to tell you, who do you want on your team? I want Sidney Crosby. That guy's a winner. Playoffs. I understand maybe Connor McDavid is the future.
I would have won Patrick Kane.
You want Patrick over Sidney Crosby?
Look at the numbers. They don't lie.
Yeah, but Sidney Crosby, I'm inside that Penguins locker room. This guy's a leader. Look what he did today. There's a lot more about Sidney Crosby than what he does on the ice and his numbers. I want Sidney Crosby. If I had to pick one guy right now heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs, I want Sidney Crosby. You can disagree with me because that's what you like to do, Pete, but I would want Sidney Crosby. Thanks for your call. Let's go out to, we'll go out to, who are we going to go to here? Jerry out in Gibsonia. What's up, Jerry?
Yes, sir. I think the Steelers should hang on to Antonio Brown and let him sit if he wants to sit out, and he'll end up like Terrell Owens and being broke over the years.
You know, Jerry, he might be broke right now. I mean, if you watch that interview on ESPN, he talked about getting a new contract. You know, why do you think there's got to be a motivation to doing this? And I think contract might be at the top of the list. I'm not saying he's broke right now, but, you know, he's definitely trending in that direction. And I don't disagree with you there, Jerry, one bit. I mean, if you can't get a first-round draft pick for this guy, and he's ruining for the Steelers. If you can't get a first-round draft pick for this guy, I pay the $2.5 million roster bonus that's due on March 18th. I pay it. I try to trade him at the trade deadline because that's when you're going to get the most for this guy. Look what the Raiders gave up. And, me being at the Combine, talking to people, hearing stuff, it seems like the Raiders are number one on that list that that would be my bet where he's going to go, end up in Oakland. They need a guy. They need a receiver. They need to make a splash when they move to Vegas. They have a ton of picks, 4 in the first 40, I think 3 in the first 27. So that would be my bet where I think he'll end up. But if I'm Colbert, if you can't get a first-round draft pick before that March 18th roster bonus is due, then you just hold on to him. You make him sweat. Then you try to trade him at the draft. And if you don't get a first-round draft pick for him or something else, then you're right. I agree with you 100%. Then you keep him. And if he doesn't want to play for you, then he's not going to make any money. He's going to make zero. So just have him just waste away. I don't think that he'll ever play for the Steelers again. And I talked to Mark Caboli about this from The Athletic, and you'll hear his interview with me coming up tomorrow on KDKA News. And that's one of the points he made. I asked him if what's the percentage that Antonio Brown comes back with the Steelers. He thinks it's very low. He said he might be back, but he doesn't think he'll ever play with the Steelers again. And I totally agree with him 100%. All right, back out to the phone lines. We're going to go out to Clint in Altoona. What's up, Clint?
Hey, how you doing, Rich?
Good. Thanks for calling.
I want to switch things up a little bit. With the NCAA tournament coming up here.
Yeah.
A lot of good teams going on. Now, there's an article in one of the papers here. Duke, Zion Williamson, they're not going to win a championship without him on the court. But then again, this guy got recruited he's going to be one and done, and then he's probably going to be the first pick in the NBA draft. And I don't know how shaky his ankle is or whatever, but do you think Duke would dare hold him out and not play him at all because if he gets an injury, another injury, then boom, down goes the millions of dollars in the draft and everything like that? I mean,
well, I believe that he's insured. I read something that he's insured for something like that. Hey, once he's healthy, he's going to be on the court. They want him to play in the tournament. I don't know if he has the right to sit out if he wants to. I would think this is a guy that wants to play, and I think if you're an athlete and you're competitive and you want to be the best, you want to go out there and win. You're not thinking about this injury. I totally understand that he has millions on the line, but I mean, what's the likelihood of him suffering a huge injury in a basketball game down the stretch in the tournament? The guy's dominated everywhere he went, and it was a fluky injury with a Nike shoe that just blew up. So once he's healthy, if he can play, he's going to be out there. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I think like I said, I just disagreed with one of the people on ESPN that said that they were, with him, by far the best team in the country. It's not even close, but I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of good teams out there that could beat Duke.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it already. Syracuse beat Duke. I think Virginia, the team that Pitt played today, potentially could beat Duke. They might not even win the ACC. But with Zion Williamson, he was so impressive. I watched him when Duke was here playing Pitt. I mean, he just took over the game. I mean, it was just incredible what this guy's able to do. Unlike anything that I've ever seen. The guy looks like a linebacker out there playing out in the court. I mean, he's huge. And he just is so dominant. I mean, I'll tell you what, I was totally impressed with this guy. And, yes, he'll be the #1 overall draft pick in the NBA draft coming up. All right, we're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls coming up next. Stay right there.